Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks, have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
Google Search Console, new brand queries and annotations features. Welcome to the room where you learn a lot about SEO, which is search everywhere optimization. We know it as search engine optimization, but it also has that connotation. And there are two new features that have come to the platform. You may not see it today, but you will see it very soon. If you don't have it, then you're probably not in the beta test. But if you are, great. If you're not, just wait on it, because this is something that's going to start coming up very soon. Hey, Lisa, welcome to the room. And thank you everyone for joining and listening to this message. I want to be very brief and quick on this so that you can see where this is going to go for you. And if you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out. But this is something that you can see on your own. So what are we talking about today? Google Search Console is, or I can say was called Google Webmasters for some time. Now we have something called Google Search Console, which we're aware about. And if you've ever used your Google Search Console browser, quote unquote, you're able to use your Google Search Console tool as a way to track performance, track analytics, track measurements, track pages, track indexing, track reports, and track links. These are very, very important to consider. These are very, very important to consider. So when you look at Google Search Console in a completely different form, think about the way it's going to take shape, especially for next year. This is the exciting part about Google Search Console, right? Something that is very important to note, welcome Sean, is that with Google Search Console now allowing you to unlock brand queries, it's going to change the whole game completely. And I think I've said this before, and I'm sure I have, because we had one of the co-founders at SEOgets.com. Shout out to SEOgets.com. SEOgets.com is a great platform that is an extension of Google Search Console, where you're able to see brand queries and non-branded queries. So they've been doing this for a while. It's just that Google now has come up to understanding that people want to know whether their searches are being branded or non-branded. How do we leverage those two? How do we shift the gears? If we're going to move from gear 1 to gear 5, how are we going to do that? Welcome, Odub. Glad to have you here. It's been a minute. When you have these Google Search Console queries as branded or non-branded, it's really up to you to decide. How are you going to shift those numbers? And most times, more often than not, you will realize if you have a new website, or if you have a website that is just basically talking about your business and you haven't addressed other forms of business industries or other types of content in regards to business, then you may not be seeing the non-branded keywords as much as the branded keywords, because you're going to see your name brand, the name of your business in different naming conventions, which is normal, which is possible. But if you start seeing more non-branded queries than branded queries, it just tells you, or rather it signifies to you as the owner of that property, that you have access to material that you can build on because you have raw material to work with. So if you have keywords that are talking about best practices for washing dishes, or best, let's say pet shampoo, or the best, Thanksgiving turkey meal for November, whatever you're going to get as a result, right, is a raw material. That's unstructured data. Now, to turn that unstructured data to structured data means that I take this unstructured keyword, welcome Mimi, I take this unstructured keyword and I take this keyword with the intention of turning it into a key phrase, turning it into a keystone, or even turning it into a keynote. When you now have a keyword turned into a keynote, it means that you have taken the word at its base level and you've turned it into a note. And when somebody sends you a note, it has context, right? It's supposed to mean something and it's supposed to say something specific. So now that you have a keynote type of keyword that you can turn into blogs, into podcast episodes like this, into articles that you can put on social media through your website. You can also turn them into newsletters if you want to. You can turn them into videos, into reels, into ebooks. There's so much you can do. Now, if you do these things consistently and you start posting them on your social media, you start posting them on your website, eventually you start realizing the things that you post consistently is what feeds back into your Google Search Console. For example, for me, I've talked about Clubhouse before, Clubhouse Plus, the subscription with Clubhouse Plus, how Clubhouse works. I've talked about how Clubhouse operates. I've talked about so many things with Clubhouse, to the point where even my website till today, after over, I would say 3+ years of writing an article about Clubhouse, is still relevant today. It's still relevant and it's still active. So the big question that I would like to ask you, and this is rhetorically phrased, is how would you want your business to show up in 2026? We're getting to the end of 2025. So how will people be connecting with you? And what are the chances of you getting that visibility? Especially now when it comes to branding and non-branding. So Google Search Console is great for branding and non-branding queries, which is going to be coming up very soon. And then the other thing that's going to be happening is annotations. So both annotations and brand queries are completely new to Google Search Console property, let me say it that way, but they're not new to the algorithm. Because I mentioned earlier, SEO Gets is a platform that you can use, and they've been doing this as well. It's just that Google Search Console is getting up to this as well. Welcome Kodesh, welcome Austin. If you guys can hear me, put a 1 in the chat, because I don't know if you guys can hear me. Welcome Becky. Sometimes it's showing me the bubble, sometimes it's not showing it to me. So I don't even know if my mic is on. Okay, I see you. Okay, thank you Kodesh, thank you Austin. If you guys can hear me, please let me know. Because as I'm speaking to you right now, the bubble is not showing on my face. It keeps coming back and forth. So I don't know if it's network or it's fluent. But either way, I'm glad that you guys can hear me. That's the major part. So these two things I've talked about, brand queries and annotations, are specifically new to Google Search Console. These are new features that just dropped. So I like to give context. You know, guys, me and research are like 5 and 6, right? I like to give research. I like to back it up with information so that you're also not caught on the whim. So I put the link in the chat. The first one is to the brand queries. That's the one I mentioned earlier. And then secondly, the one that's going to be talking about adding annotations, this is what I'm going to send over to you. I just want to get the link. I'll put the link in the chat. Boom. All right. So here we go. Okay, let me not use this. This would be too long. Let me make it short, nice, and simple so that it's also easy for you to save it if you want to save it out of here. So technically, this is a report. The links that you're going to be clicking into are technically the same things I'm saying right now. The only difference is that you will be able to read them instead of hearing me talk about them. But the links in the chat, one is by Search Engine Roundtable, seroundtable.com/Google/search. Actually, let me say it this way. I'm thinking about slashes too much. seroundtable.com/Google-search-console-brand query-filters-40474.html. I'm just saying it out to you so that if you ever want to check this out, please do. Then you can also check out imwit, imm.wit.com/news/google-search-console-add-annotation-feature-SEO-reports. Now, me mentioning this to you right now is a URL convention, right? I know we'll say, where's the link? Click the link. This is the link, but the link has an address. The first one has Google Search Console brand query filters. The second one has Google Search Console add annotation feature SEO reports. If you notice, both of these links that I've just talked about or I've sent you today or you're looking at, they both start with Google Search Console. That is something to be very aware of, because if somebody is going to go to Google right now or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Siri or whoever it's going to be or whichever platform you're going to use, whenever you have a pathway after your domain ends, right after the /, those first letters are going to determine your success rate. I'll say it again. Your URL is going to determine your success rate. Why? Because when you have these things, they're very important. Why am I being very specific about this? Because when we're talking about brand queries, you're looking at brand queries and non-brand queries, right? That's fine. These queries are keywords. If we want to just call a spade, it's a keyword. Now, this specific keyword can turn into two options or two things. It can turn into a hashtag, which is crumbled or mashed up together, or it could be separated or hyphenated, whichever way you want to call it. Welcome, Mara. And if your branded keyword or your non-branded keyword, or I'll say it this way, your branded query and your non-branded query says in your Google Search Console report, it says Google Search Console annotations. Now, because you have Google Search Console annotations as your non-branded query on your Google Search Console, it now tells you that this can now be a hashtag Google Search Console annotations. So if anyone's looking for Google Search Console annotations with a hashtag, they can find that either on LinkedIn if you put it there, on Pinterest if you put it there, on TikTok if you put it there, on Facebook if you put it there, on Instagram if you put it there, within your blog if you put it there, on YouTube if you put it there, right? In Threads, every platform that you see out here uses hashtags, right? So if you're using a hashtag and these hashtags are going to be linked back to the source, which is coming from your Google Search Console report, because you saw within a line item, it said Google Search Console annotations, that is a trigger for you. And that is a very good signal for you to know that that's the next thing you should do, is to create a move from there. Now, the next thing after that is to create an article from there, right? Because when you have an article that supports the keyword, you've turned that keyword into a keynote. That's what I talked about earlier. So you've taken this keyword that is unstructured data, then you've turned it into a keynote, which is a structured blog or a structured article talking about Google Search Console annotations. So now when you connect that to your domain and you publish that article, it will say your domain.com / the name of the keyword that you picked up, the Google Search Console report that has now turned into a link you can send on social media and that can be clicked on a website, like a google.com website or a chatgpt.com website. So you see where I'm going with this? Don't just look at these features and then think, oh, new feature. Okay, yay. What do we do with it? I don't know. No. The reason why they're there is so that you can recreate content, repurpose content, reevaluate content, and definitely reemphasize the message you first said when you wrote an article. That's why you have content pillars and you have content clusters. So these are very important things to note. There are also annotations, but like I mentioned before, these things are not really new because SEO Gets had already been doing these things before Google Search Console just released them, and not everyone has access to it right now. So it's something for you to be aware of, but it's something that can be very possible. You may not have used this before ever, but if this is something that you need to be aware of, it will help you. And I'll show you how they work and I'll talk about them. But before we do, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I see you, Alice, Ade, Tonette, and Toya. Thank you for being here and being in the room with us today. Thank you for being here as well, John. How are you? Long time no see. Hope you're well. And what are your thoughts on the topic today?
I actually joined the room because you put in the topic GSC, so I'm like, oh, I've got to jump in here and talk about this. This is probably one of my favorite topics. Like what you were saying, what you were saying about using, looking at GSC, looking at Google Search Console to figure out what's going on. Like my big thing is. I'm actually selling a course on GSC data, like how to do it, because it's so powerful. And I'm not here to selling. I'm just saying it's so powerful. I'm teaching people how to do it. And a lot of people, like you said, don't know how to even understand the data. So like that one little tip of like, look at your keywords, right? And look at the pages and look at the tools that we have is amazing. So it's like you wouldn't drive your car without looking at the dashboard. So you shouldn't have a website and drive traffic and do all the things we do without looking at GSC, right? That's my takeaway or whatever. If you want to look at it, you gotta look at your dashboard. And then we have so many tools like chat, like Perplexity. Just download the keywords, download the pages, put it through chat, put it through AI. Help me understand this. What should I do? Act like John, act like Favour. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's like so much intel. I don't want to say data, because data can be overwhelming, but there's so much intelligence. What am I trying to say? There's so much information that a business owner could use inside of that tool, and it's direct from Google. So the other part of it is it's free. Like, how can you not win? It's free data. So, right?
This is so good, John. You said something I just gotta bring it back.
What did I say? Repeat it back. Tell me what I said.
You talked about I'm gonna paraphrase you. You said that you wouldn't drive without looking at your dashboard. So why would you drive traffic without looking at your data or your data analytics, or just at least looking at your performance reports on your Search Console? And it got me thinking, when you go to Google Search Console, before you even click Start Now, like that Start Now even sounds like you're about to play Need for Speed, GT racing kind of game, because when you look to the right of it, you're seeing a dashboard. Google intentionally put a dashboard as their imagery, as their icon, as their widget, whatever you want to call it. That is a symbol that they use to depict the Google Search Console property. So when you talked about the dashboard, it got me thinking, because when you're driving, you got to hit the gas, you got to hit the brakes. When do you stop? When do you go? What do you tweak? Do you go to a pit stop? Do you go to emissions test? Do you go for licensing? What do you do? Do you go for tag renewal? Those are the things that you do with your car every year or every other year. So with your website, most people just ignore it. Like, I was talking to someone today, had no absolute care for their website, but wanted to grow, with their podcast. And I said, totally, that's fine. But we couldn't be able to really match, because they're completely different goals. And the things that we do, we don't want to say we didn't let them happen. Or let me put it this way. If it didn't work, then we'd have to explain why it didn't work, because the process was not applied with the same intention of how it's supposed to be done within a workflow. So what I'm technically saying is that if you can't use your Google Search Console to understand what people are saying or thinking about your brand or your business, it's going to be hard for you to write content or drive value back to your website because you don't even know the precept. You're focusing on the concept, you're focusing on things that are available material, but you don't even know the intention behind why they're asking or searching for those things. So it's really important to look at that, John. And that's why I
Yeah.
think they're talking about brand queries, annotations, and AI, because that's what they're trying to get into.
Yeah. You know what? Interesting story. Guys who are listening, hey, Austin, you guys that are listening to this on the replay or on YouTube, my name is John Marenko. My website is marketingbypermission.com. And I want to say that this is an super interesting topic because, Favour, I was at a soccer tournament over the last weekend, and I just so happened to see another dad. My daughter was playing soccer. I see another dad. He's got Google on his shirt. Okay. He's got Google on his shirt. I'm like, oh, okay. He looks like a guy that would work at Google. So of course, me being curious, I'm like, hey, do you work at Google? Right. So it turns out, yes, he does work at Google. He was a systems engineer, been there for 17 years. And I, of course, curiously asked him, as he's watching his son, very, very intelligent guy, very proper guy. He was American, but he had like foreign roots, so he's like, you could tell he was, what's the proper word here? He had a lot of class, okay? And so I was trying to get him to talk, but be respectful because he's watching his son. But anyways, I said, hey, what are you working on right now? What's your big chore? He's out of Chicago, on the Chicago office. And he's like, yeah, we're working on AI, we're working on the structure, the framework for AI. And I was like, oh yeah, how do you put a ad next to the AI? He's like, yeah, exactly. Right. And so it was just interesting to hear from a big company like Google of what they're, we didn't talk forever because he was being a dad focused on soccer, but just a little part that I consumed there was interesting. It's like they're working on all this stuff. They're trying to compete with all the LLMs. All right. All that being said, how does that help us? Like, how does it help you, Favour? How does it help me? How does it help me help my clients or anybody listening? How does it help you? Well, let's do a little interesting, and please interrupt me anytime here, but your data, your website data, has a bunch of intel in it. And just like Favour was just saying, you've got all kinds of different intent of the intel, right? And what was a bummer today with the amount of data we have, I got a text on my phone that said my car had a problem. I got a text on my car that I had a problem. I was not driving the car. My wife was driving the car. She was in town. And it said, hey, there's a problem. So, of course, I called her and she's like, oh my gosh, there's a problem. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that dramatic. And so we had to take it's a GMC Yukon with OnStar. So that's how all that works. But she had to take it over to the GM dealer. They had to test it. But without that data, I might have a bigger problem down the road. So my point of telling that story is use this data that we have, use AI, use the other tools, use the tools that we have to analyze the tools. But here's the part that I have actually learned over the years, and Favour has taught this multiple times. There's buyer intent. What does that mean? You can find words that have meaning, right? There's words that have meaning, they have intent, buyer intent, pre-buyer intent, like they're researching, okay? There's pain point intent. Pain point. I have a pain, I've got to figure out what's going on. I've got a location intent. In other words, like a city or keyword city or city keyword. In other words, like I want to find a person, a contractor in city, okay? There's FAQ intent. Now I'm going to tell you the really coolest thing ever. You are going to love me forever. FAQ intent. FAQ is the new awesome, the most awesome ever. I said that on purpose. Intent ever, because a lot of people go and they search differently now because of the LLMs. They say, hey, how much does a blank the blah, blah, blah cost in this city? And it's like this super long keyword. So we can find those FAQ, those questions in GSC, where you can, what I've done, Favour, is I create a 50 FAQ blogs. So one blog per FAQ, one blog per FAQ. So what the question is the title, the answer is the blog post. Then you can use that data to create YouTube content. But here's the part that's really cool. I took an FAQ, I took a question. No kidding. I can, if you contact me, I will show it to you. I ranked, now this is going to sound a little basic to us more advanced people, but it's still cool. I was still bragging to my buddy about it. I took a keyword, a question, and I ranked it within 30 minutes on Google, number one in 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes, the particular phrase was full roof replacement cost city. Okay, so yes, I understand there's different intents behind what I'm saying, but if you take that concept of FAQs, people looking for answering their questions, hey, what's the cost for a full roof replacement in this city? You can do some extremely awesome SEO or get ranked from all of these different strategies. So anyways, back to you, Favour.
This was good, John. No, I really appreciate you mentioning this, and welcome Wesley to the room, and also welcome to the Marketing Club. This is exactly why I do this type of quick fire rooms, because when you do FAQs, which is the most underrated, I would say, SEO tactic in history, that's what I think. Like you said too, it's very underrated and people don't really use it. Yet everybody's asking Siri, Google, Alexa, Amazon, ChatGPT, otherwise, questions that if you don't have a responsive answer to in form of a link that is in a multimedia format or HTML format, hypertext markup language format, or schema format, then your markup languages are not going to connect with the algorithms within the large language models. So you're totally right about that. When you're creating content and building it for this essence of allowing somebody to connect. Glossaries too are also very close to FAQs, because when you have glossaries and FAQs, I've tried that definitely on the podcast too, talked about it before, timeless, over and over again, that these things work. But you don't see them working until somebody's searching for them, like we talked about with intent. And when someone finds them, it's a really great turnover as well. Organically, and I was just looking at my search console just now, and in the last 12 months, the website, I think we've probably done less than, let's say 30 blogs this year, but we've done way more with other clients. But I'm just thinking as far as episodes and blogs. Episodes are more than 140. Blogs are like about under 30, which is pretty fair because they're pretty heavy. And without even doing much with the blogs themselves, the domain on Google Search Console has accumulated in the last 12 months 2 million impressions. Now, 2 million impressions, having an average score of an average click. No, let me not talk about the average click-through rate. Let me talk about the average positioning, because it's more like all rising tides. So if you look at the total number of pages and the total average number, when you look at everything when it comes to context and connections based on content search or intent search, it moved from average of 63 to an average of 45. Now, within 12 months, that's about 20 plus minus points. Now, if that happens again in the next 12 months, that's going to get to an average of 20 something. Give it another 24 months span from now, is going to be within the top 10. Now, AI is coming in a full force where you want to be able to still be top of search. And the reason why I did this theory is because it's not about writing all the blogs in the world. It's about writing the blogs that you can modify. Because I went back to modify some blogs I wrote 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and they're still gaining momentum because the lifespan of a blog is 24 months. And we also use Pinterest. The lifespan of a pin is 5 months compared to an Instagram post, which is 72 hours at least, or even at most, really, because after that, it's not going to be showing as much as it could. So this is some things to look into, and it's really important. And that's why I believe Google is doing it now, because they know that they're catching up with software engineering. We talked about ChatGPT with their own browser, Perplexity with their own browser. So it's getting to a point where it's not just Google. People are searching the web. The semantic web. It's the real semantic web now. So I'm excited about what's happening. Wesley, would love to hear your thoughts, topic, question. Feel free. Welcome to the room and good evening. Wesley, are you there?
Well, I find it.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. Because way back in the day, and I was trying to pull it up on the Wayback Machine, I was probably one of the earliest. I had my own search engine called Big Pile. And I was trying to pull it up so I could share it with the room. Because this is back in the day when there was like 30 search engines. Google didn't even exist back then. And I was hoping I could find on the Wayback Machine, when you look back, yep, you can look me up. My name is there, everything's there. I'm hoping I can find it. Yeah. I mean, back in the day, you had like Alta Vista. You had, these search engines were all over the place. I developed a search engine that you could look to see. I'm hoping I can find it. I'd love to share it with y'all. Hang on a second. I'll be right back.
No worries. Thank you, Wesley. Yeah, Wayback Machine is amazing. And you look at and see different things. I remember talking about it with heat mapping and website structure and how businesses started. I remember checking out, like, for example, Delta's website when they first started, what was on their homepage, what was on the sidebar, what was in the heading, what was in the navigation menu. Like, those little elements go a long way when it comes to communication and consistency. So yeah, I would love to definitely see that. So these tools are very big. Welcome, Empress. Been a while. Thanks for being here too. And Ade, thanks for being here with us today, this evening. When you look at these platforms and these tools that are free, which is Google Search Console, it really says that there's a lot that still meets the eye, yes, but there's also a lot that meets beyond the eye. Because when I look at Google Search Console and when I look at, I would say pages, I would also say properties that we also manage, and we look at the analytics from their pages, where like these pages are also racking up in millions, some in hundreds of thousands, some in tens of thousands, depending on the business. Is it local? Is it regional? Is it national? Is it international? And that's going to based on a lot of things. So when you start noticing these things, the data starts to play a big role. I was looking at my Google Search Console when I talked about countries, and the latest country that has visited our website, I've never heard of this country before. It's called Micronesia. So there are about 233 countries on my dashboard. And I know, of course, there are islands that are included and, very limited places, and definitely some places that would go beyond the country and the territories. So if the website is reaching those ends, and I know that the podcast is reaching those ends too, the We Don't Play podcast show, people are listening, then I know for sure that if it's going to help you get better, then this is a responsibility for me to make sure that you're not going off course. So when I saw these two, and you can check the chat, I saw these two topics and I was not planning to do a room today, but I said, hey, if I know about these things and I don't tell you and then you find out, I'm going to be like, man, I could have said this a couple of minutes ago and it could have been done. So that's what I'm doing now so that you can get to know about this today. And then later you can do your own research because you may not have seen it. It's possibly not on your timeline. It's not on your dashboard because it's still fresh. This was just announced. There was an event that happened earlier today. So these are new things that are happening. So over the week, things are changing. Google is building. So it's really important to look at these things right now. By the way, I don't know if you knew about this, John, but I did a room a couple of days ago, or was it weeks ago, when I was talking about ChatGPT's browser. And when I talked about the browser, somebody also came in the room and he was talking about, and I predicted it. And I was like, I know this is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Because when I look at tech companies, the way they work within quarterly cycles, I'm like, okay, definitely this will require some time, but it's going to eventually happen. And that's why they're opening it up right now with AI overviews with Google. And I predicted that because ChatGPT has a browser, Perplexity have a browser. Welcome, Marissa. These two platforms have a browser. And guess what happened 2 days ago? Cloudflare had a problem. There was an outage. I talked about that too. And I give a lot of topics and within the context so that you can be able to see, okay, what for the brands that you also connect with, your marketing stack, your branding architecture, all these digital assets, because they all play a consistent role in your performance, right? And I was saying that if these two platforms, if these two AI, artificial intelligence search engines, or I'll call them answer engines, are building their browsers, Google definitely is going to build a browser for Google Gemini. Because it's Google Chrome. And I think it was today or yesterday, I was looking at Google, and now you can split a window within Google Chrome. Instead of going to a new tab, you can split within the window. So you can have two tabs within one tab. It's crazy. So it becomes a split screen.
Yeah.
You saw that, right?
Yes, I tried it out. I think I saw that last week or the week before. I tried it. It was cool.
Yeah, things are changing. I'm just watching. I'm just like, okay, this is getting very exciting because at this point now, it's when you look at Google, they have products, Google Maps, Google Keep, Google Docs, Google Sheets. These are all products, and these products within the Alphabet company, it's like, okay, where are we going? How are we moving? How are they processing? And this is going to play a big role into how people connect. So imagine having on a split screen, one side is google.com, another one is an AI browser. However you're going to search. People are going to be searching within a multi-screen platform. So the Google is pretty much predicting the future on how search is going to change the way we experience things. Of course, with Oculus and virtual reality and people searching and, all these things is happening. So we're getting to a point where when we're searching, we're not just Googling, we're talking, we're connecting, we're asking questions. The more questions we answer within our assets, the more we can be able to disseminate information at a faster speed. So that's why I was really thinking about this. And I said, this would definitely be a good way to bring this information to you and also work through the annotations feature or the branded queries feature. So John, I'll ask you this before we wrap up. If you were to use this on Google Search Console, right? The brand queries and annotations, because we both use SEO Gets. Knowing that these two features already exist on SEO Gets, how differently would you use them on Google Search Console?
Oh, that's like one I have to think about through. I mean, let's jump back on here. Ask me that question again, okay? If it's on SEO, if it's on SEO Gets, Favour, on mic. Okay, you're not gonna on mic. All right, so if it's on SEO Gets, and it's I would have to say like it's cool that it's on SEO Gets, but I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna strategize with it a little bit more. So I want a little bit more interactivity. So I would say it's probably I'm going to use it more on the browser or in chat, because it's a little bit more interactivity and I can go back and forth with it to figure out what I want to do. In other words, I want to strategize. Okay, well, here's the group of keywords. Here's the data that I want to analyze. So it's not just looking at the data, but it's analyzing the data. So I'd have to say I'm going to use it in the browser.
Okay. And sorry, John, as you were asking the question, I couldn't respond. I had to leave and come back because my app froze.
Oh.
So I couldn't do anything. I was trying to hit the button. It wasn't working. I said, you know what? I have to just turn off, swipe up and come back in. So I apologize for that, because I was like, wait, I could hear you, but I couldn't do anything. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. It's like we have all these tools, but the tools work together. And I think that's one of the limitations of the mindset limitations, is that some people are like, well, what tool do you use? Well, I use this tool. Well, that doesn't mean, if you are again, go back to the driving, just because you're using the speedometer doesn't mean you're not going to use the fuel gauge, right? Or if you're a construction guy, just because you use a hammer doesn't mean you're going to not use a saw. No, you use those together. And so, for me, it's like, okay, these different companies are competing, and then it's good that they're competing, because now we can have all these different tools. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. I mean, granted, there's people say, oh, it's changing so rapidly. But if you boil it down into what people want, we're still human. We still want to know stuff, and we still want to buy stuff, and we still want to get places, right? It's basic stuff. So how can, there was one gentleman here, I think it was Aid, you wanted to how to do something. Well, there's probably 20 questions that Favour and I would have to ask you before we could actually help you get where you want to go, right? So that's the same thing as taking all this data and figuring out, okay, where does that person want to go? Just because I'm working with a blank contractor, right? I just took on a new client and they're trying to do X, Y, and Z. Well, the next guy over is trying to do A, B, and C. So there's all kinds of outcomes. So we, as business owners or agency owners or consultants, need to get better at looking at the bigger picture, not just that one tool. And I think maybe that's not the point of this room, but it's a good way to look at things. It's sometimes, how when you're in a specific zone, and one of your friends or mentors or coaches or somebody, or if you're in a movie and it gets you to shift your mind and go, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Oh, that's it helps you understand the problem so you can get a better solution. And I think that's one of the things that I like about all this innovation coming out, is it helps us get where we want to go. And granted, there is paralysis by analysis out there, but we have to remember, don't get stuck, just keep going. Ask questions, get in these rooms, and then actually, one of my favorite, one of the things that we should do sometime is maybe next week or in the 1st of December is do where are you stuck room? What's your mindset stuck or your tool stuck? That would be a cool room.
That would be dope. Yeah, I think it would be really, really exciting. I've been building a toolbox, and I think for sure it would help, because you can't use all the tools in your toolbox. If you want to use a hammer, it's going to be different from pliers. It's going to be different from whatever it is that you're going to use. Yeah. So it just makes total sense. So I love that you said that. It will definitely bring that in, because you said so much that I believe it's going to help the next person that's thinking about these tools and features. Not that we want to use them or use them in a specific way, but they're available so that we can think outside the box and have a much better strategy to operate within a higher performance as well. So definitely, I'm going to bring this up and make sure we can talk about this. Empress, thanks for being here, and Ade, thank you so much I know it's information overload. I understand, but if you're here consistently, the link is above. If you click that link above, it will take you to my link. link, and that's going to give you access to my community. We have over 8,000 connections and members, getting emails consistently, and we talk to people, and about 2,000, close to about 2,000 on LinkedIn, and so give or take about 10,000 people. And we connect with people outside that just to give you insights on these things, because it gets really technical. And the last thing you want to do is solve one problem, fix it, another problem shows up. It's going to be like chasing clouds, and it's not going to be easy. So the best way is to just, structure, get the buckets ready. So when the rain falls, when the rain pours, you have your buckets. You're not looking for the water. So we're going to talk about this a little more, but yeah, please click the link above so that you can sign up and we can talk about it as well. And I'll come to you at a Empress. Thanks for being here. Good evening. How are you? And what are your thoughts about the room? And then we'll come to you at a.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's been a while. I'm in a little bit of a dead zone right now, so if I go in and out, I apologize. But what actually interested me and why I came up was the conversation around how you use AI versus search in your SEO. So at least for it ultimately depends, but when I'm specifically working on blog content, what I actually like to do is I'll look at Google Search Console, SEMrush. I'll look at our Google Analytics, that sort of thing. I also will compare it to kind of what some of the organizational objectives are and any areas that we specifically want to focus on. Then I'll just literally go into a few different search engines and do searches on topics that are related and kind of see what those first questions are that come up. And then I take that information and then I also will do the same thing, and then I will ask Google's AI, and then I will ask ChatGPT and see what they come up with. And then I'll take all that information and then I'll feed it back to Microsoft's AI. So why I take it back to Microsoft's AI is because my company has it kind of incorporated into our Outlook, our Excel, our Word documents, everything. So, and it has all of our company proprietary information, and it's not shared outside, it's not read and shared outside the organization for learning. But why I like to do that is, one, I like the questions on Google, but Google's AI sometimes will also summarize things. And I think the perception I take from it, and maybe some of my perceptions are incorrect, is that Google knows what's happening on Google better than anyone else. It knows what's being clicked. It knows what's being asked. It knows that behavior. ChatGPT knows what's happening in its chats and what people are asking and how they're interacting with it based off of those topics. And then I take it back to the Microsoft, because that's where my company's information is, and that's where I'm able to combine any organizational objectives or how our personas and all that in there. And I know that you can kind of do something similar on ChatGPT, but ChatGPT doesn't keep it private. Even with the I know with you can get the corporate version of it, but it doesn't really integrate with your documents and your Outlook and all that. So that's how I like to kind of figure out what my topics are and and work on the blog posts and try to focus on the SEO that way. And I don't know, for me that works. And I find it makes things a little bit more interesting, and it's probably overkill, to be honest. But those are the steps I take, because I like to see how the bots answer differently.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Empress, have you tried Get Recall? Get Recall is very similar to Notebook LM.
This is dope. I love what we're talking about here. It's a lot of tech going on, if I can say it that way, but it's exciting because it's very helpful for us to know about these things too. So I appreciate you for, sharing this. And Empress, you're so right. Jen, I see you. Welcome to the room. Bo, good evening. Thanks for being here as well. It's exciting that we're in a time where a lot is happening. I know I talked about this yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I don't know if you heard about this. Adobe and SEMrush have a deal. And I was in the room. I didn't know about it because I was not on my LinkedIn. I was not searching for anything. I was just here in the room. And then someone put it in the chat and I was like, whoa, okay, thank you for letting me know. So as soon as we got off the room, I'm just flooded all over my feed. And I'm like, yeah, this is different. So a lot is going on. But I feel like at this point, when it comes to SEO, AI, tech, marketing, branding, PR, creative, we're getting into a whole new world right now. So we just have to buckle up, use our proprietary information, use our trademarks, use our content, use our consistent intellectual property to make sure that our content is consistent contextually and we can connect with people at a deeper level as opposed to just posting one reel a day or trying to post just because you haven't posted in a while. So building those connections are very important and using them through search algorithms are better. My friend was telling me yesterday, you don't use, I was just laughing, like you don't use Chat GPT. How is this possible? Yet everybody is using, and I was like, I don't use Chat GPT, not because I'm against it. I remember using it in 2023. I remember using it early stages, but right now I don't use it. I don't need to use it. I don't have a subscription on it, but I have the browser. I don't even use the browser as much. I just have it just in case I want to probably do some research and maybe do some technical, analysis. But I'm using what I use. We talked about search too. When you talked about that, Empress, with Google and what Google knows, what ChatGPT knows, I think about Safari. And when you look at Safari, if you use a Mac or if you use your phone, Safari browser, you can also connect to other browsers. Safari is just the default, but you can change that. So when you look at all these little things and you see how they're all interconnected with Apple Intelligence, with Siri, with all these deals that are happening, it just makes a lot of sense because you can see a lot is changing, but you also have to think about the way search is changing too. So if we're not just thinking about ranking for keywords, we should be ranking for experience and not ranking for keywords. So I think that's where the difference and the line will be drawn between AI and traditional marketing for sure. Ade, thank you for being here. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And funny,
Yeah.
funny enough, one of the things that actually made me start considering to do things that way was actually a funny YouTube video I had seen where there's this guy who's pretending to be an AI, and there's 4 other AI chatbots, and all of them are trying to figure out who the human is based off of like 5 different questions and answers, and they're all trying to fool the other AIs into thinking that they're the human. So that's actually what, and like seeing how different some of their answers were, kind of made me think, oh, like they're not all really the same. They've got their own flair to them. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to kind of veer things off to the left.
No, thank you for that insight. Everything that's mentioned is very helpful because it also sparks a thought. And if you didn't say, you would never know what it could do. So I really appreciate that feedback for sure. Yeah, a lot is changing and we just have to kind of see where it is for us because we also have to experience it. Even cars that you're going to be driving in the future. Of course, some of it is already happening now. There's Apple CarPlay, right? When you look at it with Android, we have that. There's Tesla, they have their own map. There's Mercedes, they have their own map. So when you start looking at all these auto industries, tech industries, business industries, it's not far. I would say like it's about 3 to 6 degrees separation. It just depends on how you want to see your marketing tactics and what kind of brand affinities you want to get into. Ade, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining the room today. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm joining from Vancouver, Canada. I don't know if anyone is around here, but insightful conversations is also good to be in room with like-minded leaders. It's a lot of information to take in. However, I'll speak from where I'm at, just to get into what John was saying. So I'm a founder, and as you know, for startups, it's different ideas, different days. You want to ship quickly. I use Yellow Pages to host my website and do some SEO work. But again, more and more, you want to be able to maybe even writing a book, create a wait list or or stuff like that to get your pilot, list going quickly. You can like go out to hire a marketing person every time, pay them 800, pay them 1,000. Like, we're all educated, and of course you've got time in your hand, so that's why I'm trying to, like, I know Gamma, I know a few of this stuff, but I'm also very busy. I don't have the time to start trying out stuff. I just would like to maybe get some leads into, okay, you know what, this is what you can do with websites. And I know that, okay, website is one thing, SEO is another thing, the campaign itself is another thing. But at least let's even start with having a good website that can be optimized and can be built upon, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it does, definitely. And I also saw in the chat that you have it on Wix. I also use Wix myself. I have built websites on WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace, they're all of them that are available because it's the same thing, same CMS platform, content management system, but it just has a different way of building. So if you want to drive traffic there, we can definitely talk about that and make sure you're good to go on Wix.
Okay. I'll send you a LinkedIn invite, but this is really, really helpful, and I hope that we can help reach more people that can benefit from this, and also in turn give back to the community. Well, thanks so much, Favor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ade. Appreciate you for joining all the way from Canada. Really appreciate it. My brother is in Canada. So, and I just had, my cousin just got married
Mhm.
and we're in Atlanta and his family is in Atlanta, is in Canada. So I'm very, connected there. So definitely it's a pleasure having
Can I
you
can
here
I also
guys.
ask a quick question also? Sorry, with those videos that I believe Empress was referring to, like, again, you see a lot of videos. Some of us are a bit old school. If you've been in the industry for 20 years, I can tell you you're like old school because most of these youngsters, they're just like 13, 14, 16. So what tools do we use for those like videos? Because I know some of them, someone said opus or something, like just being able to put out a good content. Because like I'm a bit camera shy, so I do a lot of write-ups, but I need to get to that point where even if I'm not too comfortable getting out there to speak and stuff, not that I don't know what I need to speak to do, but I've just not been exposed that way. How can I leverage AI and just start to like mix my content, not just write up, not just articles, but also being able to get, some good quality videos out there?
That's a good question. I would say there are two ways you can do it. I'll put a link in the chat, which is
Thank you.
I actually wrote an article. You're welcome. I wrote an article in February about AI video generators. And by the way, before I go any further, Empress is in Canada too, by the way. Yeah, so she just reminded me in the chat. Yes, so you are both in the same country. So yes, I really appreciate this connection. You never know. This app is always
Mm-hmm.
doing something amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
Empress,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for letting me know and reminding me, because I was like, yes, that is true. Yeah. So I put the link in the chat, and that's the best AI video generators that you can use. And it was an article I wrote, and you can, look at it and see what's best. Another option, which I'm doing, and I'll tell you full transparency, because if you can do it, I've done it, you can do it too. If you don't want to be on camera, one of the things I'm testing right now, I've been doing it for about a year now, and I want to actually launch it in December. So I'm saying this for the first time, in public. All right. Empress should be right back. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm going to start an animation series, SEO series. and I've already kicked it off. I tested it out, in beta, and people are giving me, feedback. I even use on Instagram. There's a trial feature on Instagram that you can publish a trial for 72 hours and get the reviews and get like an A/B test organically before you post it live on your feed. So that's what I've been doing for the last 72 hours. It's not public yet. And I've been getting a lot of good feedback. So I said, okay, so if people like it this way, then I can use, thank you, Austin, I can use animation, put my voice in it, literally animate the whole thing. And because I'm also a producer, I'm in music, I can make, jingles, make them very official, original music, so you can license and distribute it at your royalty-free,
Oh,
extension. Yeah. And because I also have a podcast and I create music as well. I'm a drummer, self-taught drummer. So I'm very infusing into music, into business, into psychology, into marketing. And that's what I'm doing for the animation. So the animation will go out, people can listen to what I'm saying, their captions generated, on screen so that you can watch. And then that way you're able to learn SEO without even having to look at me or see me. But now you can hear me and you're interacting with the animation instead of you interacting with what I look like or what's in my background. So that's another option. And you can do that with Adobe Express. So Adobe Express has an animation tool that you can actually use it, and you can animate it and you can use it off your computer. So that's what I'm doing. It's free. It's up to you. By the same time, if you're using it for educational reasons, why not? And then you can turn that into a whole business if you can do brand partnerships and the likes. So those are two options. I hope that can help.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
You are welcome. You're welcome. And Austin says, what a cool IP and content strategy. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I thought about it. I said, yeah, you know what? People like animation. And if I'm talking and you can see me, but through an animation, why not? And if the message hits home, then that's unique. People want to see unique stuff. You don't want to keep seeing the same things over and over again. It's insanity, trying to get a different result, doing the same thing over and over again. So I'm trying new things. 2026 is going to be different. And if you're with me, if you're connected, you'll definitely see it. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be putting it on there. In my email, I'll be sending it out, so it's going to be very exciting to see how this goes as well. Welcome back, Empress. And also welcome, Jermaine, to the marketing club, and AJ too. So yeah, we talked about brand queries, annotations, features from Google Search Console. Very important key factors to really consider, as a business owner. If you have a business, I've always said this, and I will always say this. I'll always preach this. I will always mention this, and I'll always say this, period. If you have a website, because there are 1.1 billion websites in the world. If you have a website, please, the first thing you should do, which is free, go to Google, go to YouTube, go to TikTok. You can see videos online that can help you do this for free. Connect your website to Google Search Console. Also, connect your website to Microsoft Bing, and also connect it in a way that you're able to still have webmaster tools for both Google and Microsoft. When you're able to do these things and you connect, that's the first step into the algorithm. Because when you're looking at all these sources, like John was talking about, ChatGPT is not private. You can't, and Empress talked about that too when it comes to privacy. These things are real. So you can't be putting your whole information on the internet expecting to get something back from AI when the source files are coming from another source. So if you want to really see how you can build that within your own asset field, think about those things in a different way, and you can really get that in a completely different dimension if you think about how to set it up today. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, connect with me. The link is above. I wanted to make sure I can talk about Google Search Console's new feature on the brand queries and annotations. So I'm excited that you were able to be here with me today. Empress Ade, thank you for being here. It was great seeing you. Empress, been a long time. Glad to see you again. And Ade, great meeting you as well. We'll definitely connect, and I'll also connect with you offline. Austin, thanks for being here as always. Appreciate you for the feedback. And Jen as well, I followed you connecting with you today. Thank you for all being here. If you're listening to this replay, I hope you've learned something. Try this out for yourself and see the kind of wonders that you can do, because the world is yours. It's just a matter of how you want to see it. And With that, have a blessed night. Talk to you later, and I'll see you in the next episode. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11, and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those 4, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you. Bye.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.